Now we're going to study chapter 12 of SD 42.12, which is the Raja Jara Marana Sutta. The Raja discourse on decay and death. As 3.3, Sutta number 3, in chapter 3 of the Samyutta Nikaya. This is about, the theme is even the most powerful must die. Right? So in other words, death is the leveler of all beings. There's a famous verse in the English literature written by Thomas Gray which reflects this. The boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave, awaits alike the inevitable hour, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. And the sutta is just about this. No? Let's look at the sutta straight away. S 3.3, originating in Savatthi. Sitting at one side, the Raja Pasenati of Kosala said this to the Blessed One. Bhante, for one who is born, is there anything other than decay and death? So this king likes to ask some very deep questions, meaningful questions, questions related to the Dharma. So we find this chapter is full of such questions. So the Buddha replies, Maharaja, for one who is born, there is nothing other than decay and death. Right? So this is a kind of summary of the dependent arising. For one who is born, there surely is death. From the moment we are born, decay begins. Maharaja, even for a Kshatriya of the great halls, fabulously rich, greatly rich, with abundant gold and silver, with abundant supplies, with abundant wealth and grain. For him too there is nothing other than decay and death. Maharaja, even for a Brahmin of the great halls, fabulously rich, greatly rich, with abundant gold and silver, with abundant supplies, with abundant wealth and grain, for him too there is nothing other than decay and death. So the Brahmins are the religious class. In the Buddha's time you have this. Being a priest, you belong to a very high class. Right? So, of course, where Buddhist monks are concerned, they are not a class. They are renunciants. But in our society today, we now kind of reverted to the class. So we have classes also, although the classes are more mobile. So in a sense, today, sadly, even to be a religious person is like belonging to a class, right? So you've got to behave classy, so to speak. You dress your robes well, talk properly to please people, and perform rituals, get support from the rich and powerful, meet them, know important people, or maybe even earn a living for yourself, even though you are supposed to be a renunciant. So once we behave like that, then we treat priesthood or monkhood as a class. But the Buddha reminds us we still have to pass away. There is decay and death. Decay and death. Decay means we're changing all the time. And our whole body and mind are burning away with greed, hate, and delusion. And finally there is this momentary end of a momentary phenomenon. Then we are reborn. We start all over again. Maharaja, even for a house lord of great halls, fabulously wealthy, greatly rich, with abundant gold and silver. Here gold and silver means money. With abundant supplies, with abundant wealth and grain. For him too, there is nothing other than decay and death, right? House lord. So you have three main classes here. You have the Kshatriyas, who are the rulers, the politicians, the warriors. And then you have the Brahmins, who are the priests, the educators. And then you have the house lords. They are the propertied gentry, if you like, the middle class of today. They have at least a house, maybe some land, maybe they normally deal with finance in this case. Interestingly, During the Buddha's time, the Kshatriyas would deal with agriculture. But the Buddha's time was a time when there was a lot of changes coming. Even within the Buddha's life, there were changes going on. So you find that agriculture was growing, for example, as the empire started growing, the kingdoms became bigger, it became the basis of the future great empire of the Maurya and so on. So you find, because of here, only the three classes are mentioned. So we can say that the sutta refers to an early age, early time of the Buddha's life, when these three classes are well known. Okay. The merchant class is not so well known yet. Perhaps within the Buddha's life, decades later, when the Buddha was older, the merchant class also grew because the kingdoms are more powerful and more peaceful and more extended, so trade could spread. Okay. Now then, verse 6, Maharaja, even for monks who are arahats, with mental influxes destroyed, in other words, all the defilements are gone, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached their own goal, destroyed the fetters of being, completely liberated through direct knowledge. Right? Even for them, this body is subject to breaking up, subject to being laid down. So even for the great saints, they will pass away too. Even the Buddha has to pass away. After all, this is what the Buddha has been teaching, permanent. Right? So the Buddha passes away too. So we see this very clear in early Buddhism. What the Buddha teaches, it is also true of him. Only in later Buddhism, the Buddhist imagination became more extended and creative and even more imaginative, in other words. We have Buddhas who seem to have eternal life, right? For example, you have this Amitayus, right? The Buddha of boundless life, right? So we begin to this idea that the Buddhas don't die and so on. So it is all later ideas which are introduced, and they are not found in early Buddhism, and they are interesting as literature, as ideas, and we can like discuss them if you like, but they are not part of the awakening training. In other words, you can believe in them, but they're not going to help you in your awakening process. In fact, we have to let go of a lot of views, such views, before we can really see inner peace. This, the Blessed One said this, the teacher, the Sugata, the welfarer, having said this, added, Tirang kiwe raja rata sucita, ato sariran pi jorang upeti, satancha dhammo na jorang upeti, santo have sapi pawe dayanti di. The royal chariot, well adorned or well crafted, indeed decay, and the body too comes to age. But the truth of the good does not decay. Indeed, the peaceful teach the good. So there's something different stated in the verse, right? In the verse, the Buddha says, all this, whoever exists, whatever exists in this world must change, must end, must die. The powerful kings and rulers and warriors, the powerful Brahmins, the priests, the worldly monastics and monks, the rich and influential house lords, businessmen, business class, they too, they all grow old and will die. The great monks too, in all their virtue and wisdom and compassion, they too must pass away. But when they die, they leave behind the truth, the teaching, which can still help us. So this is where, no matter how rich or powerful, influential we are, with great wealth, we may belong to any of those great worldly classes. When we die, that's the end of it. We come and go, just like the wind, like the dead leaves that fall from trees. It's almost like we have never lived before, if that's the life that we take, the path that we take. Unless in our wisdom and compassion we make use of that wealth that we have to do good, for the greater happiness of others, not measuring people. We help people with great compassion. In other words, being kind to them even when they do not deserve it. Because in doing that, we raise their chances, their ability to be good people too. Because of our openness and unconditional acceptance of others, they have a chance to be happier, they have a chance to grow, they have a chance to become better people. That is why you find sometimes the very rich people, they form foundations and scholarships to help the poor, so that poverty is not a hindrance to personal development. In doing so, then they perpetuate their good name. So although they have passed away, but their merit, their goodness is still there, helping others. And that's a great way to be remembered, because your karma has kind of helped other people also. And this is one way to really live, bringing happiness to others. In the case of the great saints, they have a different kind of wealth. It's called the wealth of wisdom, of liberation, the Dharma. And this is the kind of wealth we cannot measure, because this is the kind of wealth that gives us inner peace, spiritual wisdom, and true liberation. And this is what the Buddha is talking about. And that kind of truth does not die. It's eternal in a manner of speaking. Right, so we studied 2 short suttas today. And let us close this study by reflecting on this moment. Some teachings may be very short, but they summarize some very important truths for us. Occasionally they remind us of the realities that we face in life, so we don't forget, and then we compare ourselves with others. And when we compare ourselves with others, we become unhappy. We feel that people have a lot of things and we have less or we have nothing. Then we won't be happy. But if we look within, we discover we have a lot of wonderful things. We have goodness, we have happiness and peace. And if we go on from there to study the Dharma and do our meditation, then we will grow in wisdom. Even simple words can help others to be happy. Those who are lost in the forests of busyness and difficulties. Reflecting in this way is very good karma. By the power of such karma, may we be well and happy in this life itself. May we prosper so that we be able to do good works to help others be happy too. Above all, may we have the health and wisdom to study the Dhamma and awaken in this life, at least as a stream winner. May we aspire to that level at least. In this moment of peace, let us send out our loving kindness to all our teachers who have given us the Dhamma, to all those who help us in one way or another to live as Dhamma workers, to spread the Dhamma. And also let us send our loving kindness to all our loved ones, family members, friends, all the people who are important to us, even to those who have been inimical to us, that they be well and happy and be our friends. And to those whom the Dhamma have not touched, may they see the Dhamma quickly enough and attain spiritual liberation. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.